Hello, hello. It's time for a Fox 411. It is with Mary Ingham of Crisis Intervention and also David Epperly, our county sheriff here, joining us for April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So, yeah, sometimes on these things we have a little fun, but sometimes we get a little serious about something that is serious. And you know what? I was going to ask you guys this a long time ago, and I never did. Do you? Because you work together in this whole thing when it comes to a lot of issues that might come up that are domestic. Do you two ever butt heads?
Yes.
You do.
Yes. Yes.
Well, no, you know, it's an honest question. Do
Yeah.
you ever butt? I mean, it's like, okay, this is the law enforcement way, and then this is the crisis intervention way. So I don't think I've ever asked you that. Do you guys actually butt heads once in a while?
Well, I think the truth is,
I mean, you're all doing a good thing.
we work together well, but sometimes, and I'll speak for law enforcement, we're not always as patient as we need to be with some of the rules that come in for our particular roles. So sometimes cops are a little bit impatient. I'll just say that, but we work great together, I believe, but there's always, sibling rivalry, maybe a little bit sometimes, where it's like we want to do our thing, and maybe Mary's group doesn't want us to do that.
You want to you have a rebuttal on that, Mary?
I do. And I think the great, when we talk about butting heads, I think we do it in what I like about it is we do it in a kind, respectful, almost like a brotherly, sisterly kind of way, that we can be really honest with each other. Some of our frustration comes from when we respond to a victim, we're there to believe 100% of what people say. We're there to make sure they're safe, they're comfortable.
Right.
We have the luxury of, if I'm responding to one victim, that's who I'm with. And that's who I'm with until I'm done. Our friends in law enforcement don't have that luxury. When a deputy responds, they might have another call waiting and another call waiting.
Yeah.
And I want this victim to be able to spend 3 hours telling their story. And oftentimes the deputy's kind of like, can we get this moving along? So it is finding that happy medium. I think the great thing about law enforcement in North Iowa, our agency and our other community partners, we all have the same end goal. We all want the community to be safe. We all want to see offenders held accountable. We all recognize that we have different missions, purposes, and functions within the system. But sometimes, when you work together with the same group of people, you just get frustrated and want everyone to do it your way.
Yeah, I get that. I always wanted to ask you guys that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, some things you take for granted, of course, but I wanted to officially ask you guys that if you ever do, because I can see that. Just like you said, Sheriff, the sibling rivalry type thing or whatever. So Mary, how many out of 10 would you say you get the call first?
Ooh,
of something going on. You've been here a long time.
I have. It's a little over 35 years. And I think it kind of depends on the situation. Sure. I think a lot of times if there has just been an assault, if someone has just been sexually assaulted, or they've just disclosed to a friend or family member, I think a lot of times that first call goes to 911 because we've trained people really well, or they will initially report to an emergency room. I think the one difference is if an assault maybe happened 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago or 3 years ago, oftentimes we will be that first call. So just for example, last year, law enforcement in Saragordo County had about 80 reports of sexual assault throughout the year.
Wow.
And that includes Saragordo County Sheriff, Clear Lake Police Department, Mason City Police Department. Our agency worked with 213 sexual assault victims from this county. And the difference is when you call our office, we don't have caller ID. You don't have to share your name.
Sure.
We don't launch an investigation. If we visit you at your house, We just saunter up in our personal vehicles, and we walk out in our casual clothing. When law enforcement comes to visit, they make a little bit more of a scene. They usually come with lights and sirens and their decorated vehicles and their fancy uniforms. So it's harder. If you invite law enforcement to your home, your neighbors know.
Yep. They kind of stand out, don't they?
They do. They make quite a scene when they come.
Do you guys have caller ID, don't you? Sheriff's office?
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Even for cell phones, just so people know.
You mentioned something here, Mary, that I was just thinking about it. Do sometimes the hospital has to call you both?
Mm-hmm.
Or because they might, whatever happens, if there's an assault that happens and they got to get to the doctor or whatever, get to the hospital, and then you guys get the call, and I don't know who gets called first, I guess. Does it make any difference? Probably not.
A lot of times law enforcement will get called first.
Okay.
And then the great thing about Saragota County Dispatch, then they get to call all the other players. And so a lot of times they might get that initial call. And then what happens in Saragota County, they'll then, they call law enforcement, and a deputy or an officer from the proper jurisdiction would respond. Mm-hmm. And then we send someone too. So we all meet up with wherever the victim happens to be and provide a coordinated response.
Sheriff, sexual assault. I don't want to. I want to kind of dumb this down a little bit to the point of what is sexual assault, because it can actually be a number of things, right?
Yeah, there's different. I guess the best way to put it is there's different.
Not just the act.
Yeah, there's just different elements that would describe the sex act and the charge that could be part of the actual crime that occurred. But like Mary said, sometimes I would guess that probably more than half of the reports that we get probably come from medical first. Okay. It could be through Mary's office that someone is disclosed that they're a victim. And then the great part about our response here in North Iowa is that we do have a coordinated response to it. So law enforcement, medical, advocacy, everyone with their disciplines would be involved, and with the goal is that we want to do the best we can for the victims and hold offenders accountable. So that's our goal, is our coalition, why we work together.
Mary, you said there was 80 sexual assaults last year?
Reported in the county to law enforcement.
Okay, I'm going to ask a difficult question.
Right.
How many of those involve children?
That is a difficult question. Okay. So I can't give you that with any degree of certainty. So we'd have to drill down at each department, and I don't have those numbers at my fingertips. I know at our agency, about 25% of our numbers each year come from children.
Dave, you want to add to that?
I would say for our department, just speaking for Saragota County Sheriff's Office, at least 1/3 of our reports involve children.
Right. And of course, I would say the percentage is pretty high. This is always, not always, but is it mainly a domestic situation at home?
When we're talking about child sexual assault, it's typically someone the child knows. So it could be a family member. I mean, it could be a parent. It could be a sibling. A lot of times it's someone very close to the family, someone that the family trusts, daycare, all sorts of, it is rarely a stranger.
Right. It's somebody they know.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Well, and aside to that, I guess, we hear about, child trafficking all the time. Do you guys get involved with both? I mean, I know, Sheriff, you do, but Mary, do you get involved with some of that trafficking stuff and I think a lot of people don't think it really happens around here?
It does happen, and we work with both human trafficking, which includes sex trafficking and labor trafficking.
Right.
And with the human trafficking, and it's like sexual violence and domestic violence.
Yeah.
Usually the perpetrator. I think on the movies we like to watch and maybe like to think that this is how it happens. It's that stranger whisking you out of the parking lot and putting you into a life of servitude. The reality is most people are trafficked by family members or someone they're working for. It's typically not the stranger.
I bring it up because we've recently had a couple of stories come up here, Sheriff, that we've had some missing kids around the area. I want to say I thought I saw 2 of them on social media that seemed to be around the area. I mean, this is just a thing that one thing can lead to this and then that, and is it from this? Is it from that? But yeah, so what a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here today is domestic and people they know as opposed to what they don't know. Again, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. That's why we have the 2 here. What are you guys doing, Sheriff? First of all, what do you to get awareness other than this interview that we're doing, this podcast that we'll have on our Fox website, 1037thefoxrocks.com? What are you guys doing as the Sheriff's Department?
Well, number one is what we're doing today with you, Harry, is we just want to get with the media partners that we have to there again, get the word out that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Get people thinking about it a little bit more, maybe than if we didn't have this outreach. But we want to go into like the schools and be able to be present there to let them know that there are community partners that are involved in making sure that if something does happen as far as a sexual assault, that there's people that you can turn to. There's different things that you can do as a community for prevention, but the biggest thing is just awareness. And then if you would happen to be a victim, that there are people there that can help. And that's the biggest thing for our coalition, is just to be able to let people know that there is help available, and we'll do whatever we can to assist you through a very difficult time in your life, obviously.
Right. And Mary, crisis intervention goes right along with the Sheriff's Department and goes out there.
Yeah. So
different schools.
We partner with a lot of those outreach efforts. One of the interesting things, I think it's pretty cool this year, in February, we did some outreach at local high schools, and we had a contest, a poster contest. So February is Dating Violence Awareness Month, and we encourage high school students to help us design a poster for Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April. Because typically our marketing materials are designed by people like Dave and I. Mm-hmm. And while we think we're hip and cool, I don't know that high school and college kids really dig what we're saying. Yeah. So we had a poster designed by a high school student, and we'll be displaying that throughout the month of April. So I think they're a little more hip and cool than us.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think it's just something that, people don't think they'll ever encounter, and then until it happens.
Exactly.
I know there's got to be an investigation and all that, but I'm sure, Sheriff, you've seen enough at the scene that if you get called out, you throw the cuffs on them and take them away.
Well, that kind of simplifies things a little bit, but what we want to do is make sure that we respond to every victim and get them the necessary immediate help, and then help them through the process. And that's what the whole goal is for our coalition, that we all have this partnership together, community members, and we're assisting the victim the best way that we can without adding any more.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, it looks like he froze up here a little bit. You froze. Well, there you go. We got the sheriff in mid-sentence right there. Well, maybe it's that Wi-Fi they got down there at the sheriff's office. Mary, let's talk about the whole fact of if you go through anything like this in your family, the domestic situation, I think your nemesis is always going to be the one that wants to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean,
And,
they just will hope that things get better,
and I think a lot of times there's so many things that feed into that. A lot of times people might be embarrassed or ashamed, or they might not even realize that what happened to them is wrong or against the law.
Yeah.
And it's hard to speak out. What we see a lot of times too is people maybe have been victimized before and they weren't believed. So they might assume this time they won't. That one of the saddest things that I see, and it continues to happen today, is when I go out and talk to a group of people, almost every time someone will come up to me and say, this happened to my daughter 30 years ago and there was no one here. I'm glad you're here. Oftentimes people will tell us for the first time, this happened to me in high school. I never told anyone. And holding that inside works. It works for a while, but eventually that trauma starts to seep out in all sorts of areas of your life. So the number one thing is talk. We know that talking helps, and it sounds simple, but telling someone what happened and sharing it. Yeah.
With somebody that whether you, and it's probably easier to share it with somebody you don't know. Right.
Exactly. And the other piece is I think a lot of times our approach too is we will support you sharing as much or as little as you want. If all you want to tell me is something really bad happened last night, I want to make sure that you're safe. How can we make sure all those safety needs are met? But if that's all you feel safe telling me, okay. I don't need to know the timeline, all the details. I just need to know something bad happened and how can we make sure you're safe? Do you want to talk to law enforcement? All of those things.
Right. Well, here we go. We got the sheriff back again or whatever. And good timing on this,
Dave. We were just talking about you. Because
we were just talking about, things that might have happened years ago and you want to share with it or whatever. Is there a statute of limitations in Iowa? I mean, if somebody shared something with Mary and crisis intervention, is there, I don't know, how far can you go back? And
no, and frequently someone will report several years past an event, and we'll take those reports.
You'll take those, yeah, exactly. All right. Well, sorry we lost you there, Dave. You were in mid-sentence and you froze up, but you're back.
Better than ever.
You paid the internet bill. That's good.
Yes.
Good. All right, guys. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, even though when it's serious, and this is what we got to do is get the word out. And man, Mary, what is there anything you'd like to say to people? I guess that that might be going through some of this stuff. I mean, no. I've always said it's a lot like addictions. You become very self-reliant and you don't talk to anybody. It's okay to ask for help. Mm-hmm. It's okay. And it really helps if you just reach out.
And I think there's that cliche that asking for help is one of the hardest things you can do. Yeah. And I do think that is very true. Asking for help is difficult, especially if maybe you've asked for help before and you didn't get the help you needed. And so I like to turn it around now because also in Iowa, we're proud. We want to be self-sufficient. We don't want to ask for help, but letting someone help you is the nicest thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
That's
and it's a good start to the healing process.
Yeah. Plus, you know what? You help two people out. The person that's helping you're helping yourself out too. Glad that you could be there for that person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is why I always, I preach a lot about how empathy is actually more meaningful than sympathy is. Mm-hmm. They just need to know that you're there.
Yeah.
And I'm here for you. Crisis intervention is there for you. You can see it if you're watching this video. If you're listening to it, you can call them at 424-9133 or cishelps.org, cishelps.org. And Sheriff, you want to throw in, obviously, I don't know what the phone number is.
Well, emergency situations always
911.
call 911.
Right.
The sheriff's office number is 641-421-3000. So,
Yeah.
and then also our webpage, www.cerrogordo.gov will get you into some links that you can contact us.
Very good. And I'm sure, Sheriff, you get calls from people that say they got this on their mind, they want to talk, and then you, of course, refer them to Mary and crisis intervention, right? I mean, that's how you guys work together.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Even though you might butt heads once in a while, like we heard earlier. I think that's great, though. You keep each other honest that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a good relationship. We really do.
Okay. Great conversation. Is there anything more that you guys want to add to it here on April being Sexual Assault Awareness Month? And I know we get to talk to you really a couple of times a year about different things and domestic stuff. I know domestic violence as well is another one we get together and talk with. But here's your chance, I guess, if you want to say anything else.
I think what I'm going to encourage people to do after they listen to this, share it with a friend. Tell a friend to tune in, educate themselves. If everyone told one friend, we could really amplify the message. Mm-hmm. Also, we'll be posting things throughout the month on our social media. Check us out and share those. Share those fun facts or those not so fun facts. Everyone knows somebody that's been a victim.
Sure.
And let's make it easier for victims to reach out for help.
That's right. And remember, this is on YouTube as well. So just look us up, 103.7 The Fox.
Yeah.
All right. Mary, Dave, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day and a great life. And let's clean up this issue, shall we?
Perfect.
Best we can.
Thanks,
Let's fix it before next year.
There you go. All right. Thank you much.
Thank you.